The following presentation may contain too many cat jokes. Viewer discretion is advised. This presentation is rated CJ, Cat Jokes. Parental guidance suggested.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat er nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
Time for Opa's Corner, so let's get started. A man who had spent his whole life in the countryside was visiting a friend. He'd never seen a train or the tracks they run on. While standing in the middle of the railroad tracks, he heard a whistle, but didn't know what it was. Predictably, he's hit and is thrown to the side of the tracks. He was lucky, sustaining some minor internal injuries, a few broken bones, and some bruises. After weeks in the hospital recovering, he's at his friend's house attending a party. While in the kitchen, he suddenly hears the kettle whistling. He grabs a baseball bat from a nearby closet and proceeds to batter and bash the kettle into an unrecognizable lump of metal. His friend, hearing the ruckus, rushes into the kitchen, sees what has happened, and asks him, "Why did you ruin my good kettle?" "Man, you gotta kill these things when they're small." A husband and his wife were driving down a country lane on their way to visit some friends. They came to a muddy patch in the road, and the car became bogged. After a few minutes of trying to get the car out by themselves, they saw a young farmer coming down the lane, driving some oxen before him. The farmer stopped when he saw the couple in trouble and offered to pull the car out of the mud for $50. The husband accepted, and minutes later the car was free. The farmer turned to the husband and said, "You know, you're the 10th car I've helped out of the mud today." The husband looks around at the fields and asks the farmer, "When do you have time to plow your land at night?" "No, night is when I put the water in the hole." A fellow walks into a bar very down on himself. As he walks up to the bar, the bartender asks, "What's the matter?" "Well, I've got these 2 horses and well, I can't tell them apart. I don't know if I'm mixing up riding times or even feeding them the right foods." "Why don't you try shaving the tail of one of the horses?" The man stops crying and says, "That sounds like a good idea. I think I'll try it." A few months later, he comes back to the bar in worse condition than he was before. "What's the matter now?" the bartender asks. The fellow, in no condition to be in public, answers, "I shaved the tail of one of the horses, but it grew back, and I can't tell them apart again." The bartender, now just wanting him to shut up and leave, says, "Why don't you try shaving the mane? Maybe that will not grow back." The fellow stops crying, has a few drinks, and leaves. A few months later, the fellow is back in the bar. The bartender has never seen anybody in this sorry state. Without the bartender even asking, the fellow tells him his problems. "I shaved the mane of one of the horses and it grew back." The bartender, now furious at the guy's general stupidity, yells, "For crying out loud, just measure the stupid horses. Perhaps one is slightly taller than the other one." The fellow cannot believe what the bartender has said and storms out of the bar. The next day, the fellow comes running back into the bar as if he had just won the lottery. "It worked! It worked! I measured the horses, and the black one is 2 inches taller than the white one." During a terrible storm, all the highway signs were covered with snow. The following spring, the state decides to raise all the signs 12 inches at a cost of $6 million. A farmer talking to a state trooper says, "That's an outrageous price. I guess we're lucky the state handled it instead of the federal government." "Why is that?" The farmer paused for a minute before he responded. "Because knowing the federal government, they'd have decided to lower the highway." A farmer got pulled over by a state trooper for speeding, and the trooper started to lecture the farmer about his speed and in general began to throw his weight around to make the farmer feel uncomfortable. Finally, the trooper got around to writing out a ticket. While he was writing, he kept swatting at some flies that were buzzing around his head. The farmer said, "Having some problems with them circle flies, are you?" The trooper stopped writing the ticket and said, "Well, yeah, if that's what they are, but I've never heard of circle flies." "Well, circle flies are common on farms. You see, they're called circle flies because they almost always are found circling around the back end of a horse." The trooper says, "Oh," and goes back to writing the ticket. Then after a minute he stops and says, "Hey, wait a minute. Are you trying to call me a horse's rear?" "Oh no, officer. I have too much respect for law enforcement and police officers to even think about calling you a horse's rear." "Well, that's a good thing." He goes back to writing his ticket. After a long pause, the farmer says softly, "Hard to fool them flies, though." Year after year, Bubba's wife pleaded with him to take her fishing, but he kept telling her she wouldn't enjoy it. She finally wore him down, and he consented, and one early morning they took off to the lake. They hadn't been there very long when the fish began biting. Almost as fast as they cast, a fish would bite, and they reeled it in. After catching their limit, Bubba said, "Run a loose, white thing. I'm sorry. You been good luck, and I'm going to bring you with me next time. If you'll mark the spot where we caught all these fish, we'll go home." On the way home, Bubba turned to Vera Lou and said, "Sweet thing, how'd you mark that spot where all the fish are so the next time I'll know?" "Bubba, darling, I put a big X on the side of the boat right down closest to the water." "Sweet thing, that's about the dumbest thing I have ever seen you do. Don't you know that won't work? We may not get the same boat the next time." Many years ago, there were two sisters, one blonde and one brunette, who inherited the family ranch. Unfortunately, just after a few years, they're in financial trouble. In order to keep the bank from repossessing the ranch, they needed to purchase a bull from the stockyard in a faraway town so that they could breed their own stock. They only had $600 left. Upon leaving, the brunette tells her sister, When I get there, if I decide to buy the bull, I'll contact you to drive out after me and haul it home. The brunette arrives at the stockyard, inspects the bull, and decides she wants to buy it. The man tells her that he will sell it for $599, no less. After paying him, she drives to the nearest town to send her sister a telegram to tell her the news. She walks into the telegraph office and says, "I want to send a telegram to my sister telling her that I bought a bull and she needs to hitch the trailer to our pickup and drive it out here so we can haul it home." The telegraph operator explains that he'd be glad to help her and then adds, "It's just 99 cents a word." Well, after paying for the bull, the brunette only has $1 left. She realizes she'll only be able to send her sister one word. After a few minutes of thinking, she nods and says, "I want you to sell her the word comfortable." "How's she ever gonna know that you want her to hitch the trailer to your pickup and drive it out here to haul that bull back to your ranch if you just send her the word comfortable?" "My sister is a blonde. The word's big, and she'll read it very slowly. Come for the bull." And now for the funnies. Captain sure does give some weird commands. African rake snake. Boink. Student driver. In all fairness, you never covered bridge out signs in class. How I'm awesome. 1, I'm furry. 2, I'm lovable. 3, I'm a bad... You will enjoy the lap of luxury. You will enjoy the luxury of lap. I can't believe the way kids nowadays wear their collars. Casual. Just act casual. Cat showers. For crying out loud, Patrick, sit down. And enough with the give me the potatoes or give me death nonsense. Hey everyone, Simmons here just uttered a discouraging word. Pick me up. Are you talking to me? Yes, pick me up. Kiss me, and I'll turn into the most beautiful woman you have ever seen. I'll make sure all your friends are envious and jealous because I will be your woman. What are you nuts? Didn't you hear what I said? I said, Kiss me and I'll be your beautiful bride. Nah, at my age I'd rather have a talking frog. Being the bottom of the ninth, 1 run down with 2 outs and a runner on second, Barry knew his team's only hope was a double base hit. Yeah, I know some weeks it's really hard to stay on top of the laundry pile. New York, 1626. Chief of the Manhattan Indians addresses his tribe for the last time. To begin, I'd like to show you this. Isn't it a beaut? That's distracting. When I was a little girl, I was told if I made an ugly face, it could freeze and stay like that. Well, teacher, you can't say you weren't warned. The Bird Watcher Watchers. Ooh, a khaki-vested punch belly. The condo looks nice, but are there any strings attached? Come on, Toby. Throw in some strings to bat around. Welcome to New York State. To enter the state, please solve the following problem. 2x squared plus 7 divided by 3 equals 13. Solve for x. It's part of the state's new emphasis on improving education. I'm afraid you'll have to turn around, Mr. Straub. College bursar. Instead of repaying my student loan, I'm returning my diploma. It didn't work. It wasn't so much that Ed's cell phone rang during the Sunday sermon. It was that his ringtone was Highway to Hell. Not that rare. As a small band of hunter-gatherers sat around cleaning their weapons, one made the mistake of looking at his club straight on. Whoomph! Life of a Tuxedo Cat. Look who's overdressed again. Ha 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 ha. Very interesting. Do you work here? Yes. I need to buy a Barbie doll for my daughter. How much are they? Which Barbie? We have Barbie Goes to the Gym for $19.95. Barbie Goes to the Ball for $19.95. Barbie Goes to the Beach for $19.95. Barbie Goes Shopping for $19.95. Barbie Goes Nightclubbing for $19.95. And Divorce Barbie for $395. Why is Divorce Barbie so much more expensive than the others? It's obvious. Divorce Barbie comes with Ken's house, Ken's car, Ken's boat, Ken's furniture. It's a new social media app called Strings. Everyone talks about. Strings, they're attacked. Strings, they're chewed. Strings, they're about to attack. This looks amazing. Hey, that's milk. And you said you were empty. You stinking liar. Failed attempt at camouflage to escape the bath. Volume 5 in a series. The Lifebook. Home Surgery. Aha! There's the old gallbladder. Dang it, Lois! Would you knock off all this squirming around business? Carl, you're going to get out there and you're going to catch that red dot. And that concludes an episode of Opa's Corner.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
Opa's Corner is now available on my own YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe.